ऐसी बानी बोलिए मन का आपा खोए, अपना तन शीतल करे औरन को सुख होए कबीरा, औरन को सुख होए। ऐसी वाणी बोलिए मन का आपा खोए, अपना तन शीतल करे औरन को सुख होए कबीरा, औरन को सुख होए। This verse is titled to speak such speech. ऐसी बानी बोलिए, speak such words, मन का आपा खोए. One loses the mind's ego. अपना तन शीतल करे, the body remains cool and composed. औरन को सुख होए, others also finds peace and comfort. So how should you speak? How should you? Gayatri might just have it for a little longer, please. Maybe they might want to jot it down. So speak such words that one loses, the other person loses his ego. Means that person melts away. You remain calm and cool and composed, and other person also finds peace and comfort. A long way to go. There are moments, yes, ma'am, thank you. There are moments we all of us fall short, don't we? Where we speak. Now, it can be taken literally as speech. It can also be taken as your actions, because speech is one of the organs of action. So it's not how you literally speak, it's how you conduct yourself, how you find yourself in an environment, and how you perform yourself, how are your actions. So what impact it has on others. So speak such, but in the context, to be specific, to be direct, we would take it as literally speech. So even though he doesn't qualify, he just says, speak such words. I see Bani boliye, but he doesn't get into the detail. What kind of word should I speak? How do I speak? And thanks to the Shastras, thanks to the scriptures, thanks to the Gita, in the 17th chapter, there is a reference. So I'm falling on that reference to that context, which gives us an insight, which helps us to expand the context here. So the 17th chapter, 15th verse of the Gita gives you that insight. Please fall back on it, where he says, Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyaya bhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. He says this is the tapaha. Tapaha means austerity. Uchyate. Tapaha, he says it is the austerity of speech. So austerity of speech is directly relatable in the context. Now, what is the aspects given in the 17th chapter are relevant here? Now, when do you uphold austerity of speech? First point, you speak without excitement. You don't speak excited. And when you speak without excitement, it has a certain resonance to others and also to yourself. I'll first give the the various elements. Your speech should be without excitement. You speak all that is truth. Thirdly, your speech must be pleasant to hear. Fourth, it must be beneficial to the other person. And lastly, he says, practice of sacred study, he says. Swadhyaya bhyasanam chaiva. Obviously, you will see a certain depth, a difference from what Kabirji is saying and what the Gita is saying. They're different gradients. So it goes to a different depth there. Now, when you speak something which is without excitement, now when is it that your words or actions, you get excited? Excitement is an aspect where your actions are performed from the mind. When your mind is more predominant, you become very impulsive. Where you lack the rational element, where you lack your reason and rationality, then you invariably speak with excitement. So where there is reason, when there is enough thought given, your words are without excitement. There's enough deep thought and reflection given to what you say, you're invariably not excited, you're not impulsive. So in simple terms, I'm saying you get excited when your actions are emanating from the mind. You have not given enough thought and reason, and your words, your actions are impulsive. On the contrary, when you have given enough thought and reason to anything that you want to communicate, it becomes very rational, it is non-impulsive, and you speak without excitement. There's nothing to be excited about. First aspect. And then he says it is very pleasant. When does anything becomes pleasant? Okay, what is the opposite of being pleasant? Perhaps repugnant. You feel revulsive when something is said. So what is it in a man's speech that makes other person repugnant or revulsive to it? Vis-a-vis, another person feels very pleasant to hear about it. So it's not what you say. Obviously, there is due credit to be given what you say as well. You may be saying sometimes the true things. You may speak the truth, but yet it may be very repugnant. It may be very revulsive to other person. It's not pleasant. So what is it that makes it very unpleasant to other person? And we go through this during the course of our day-to-day activities. How do we communicate ourselves to others? And you clearly know when you violated it, isn't it? So what is it in your speech that makes it revulsive, vis-a-vis, which is pleasant or unpleasant? To begin with, maybe Sriniji.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Hari Om, sir.
Well, there are several ways that you can put a person down, so to speak, or make the conversation or the speech repulsive. When you antagonize that person, putting down that person may cause that reaction. mean, I'm just giving you a couple of examples, but generally when you make the other person smaller or argue with them or putting that person down, all these may create that reaction of being repulsive to you.
Yes, so there is a play of ego, isn't it?
Correct.
There's a very heavy egoistic notion. You speak full of sarcasm, and the selfish motive is very evident. So your selfish intention, a tone of sarcasm, and the play of ego makes it very unpleasant for the person to receive what has been said. You may be speaking the truth. I'm just giving the benefit of doubt that you may be speaking the truth, and yet it becomes unpleasant to the other person because the intention behind it is not pure. So the question is truth vis-a-vis the intention. Sometimes, what is marketing? Marketing, I may sell you something which is not good, but I market it in such a way that you fall for it, isn't it? But there's actually no substance in it. It's possible that I market something garbage to you and you fall for it and you buy it. I may have something very substantial, very, very valuable, but if I don't know how to present it, how you give it across, it may not be well received, isn't it? So the element, what we are saying is that which is beyond the content, it is how you convey, and what makes it pleasant to receive from the recipient's perspective is me to subdue my ego. All right. So if I'm able to subdue my ego and purify my intention, it goes a long way. It means you're interested in the hitam. Hitam means in the interest of the other person. That makes it very acceptable and pleasant. All right.
Yeah, could you just repeat that Gita verse again? Because I thought that was very deep, if you don't mind. I thought there, I didn't see, I guess it touches upon the ego as well, where I think I wrote down beneficial to the other person. So, which is the kind of marketing kind of concept that you are trying to.
What you people have taken out of the traditional books, huh?
Well, I actually wanted to object to the statement you made when you said marketing is selling garbage, but because my profession was a little bit of that.
I'm not saying all marketing is like that. I'm saying when you market, you may package it in such a way that, what is advertisement? Advertisement is trying to give an image to something which may actually have a detrimental value. How is junk food marketed today? Every youngster goes to a store, falls a prey to this junk food. It is not being advertised as ill health. It's being advertised as health. It's being advertised as entertainment. It's advertised as something which you should want. But yet every health conscious person will tell you it is not good for you. What is marketing? Something unhealthy. The most healthiest thing, how the mother would go to great length to give something healthy for the kid, but she has to make it in if it has to be vegetable patty, she has to make it in the shape of I don't know, what do you get? Maybe a Mickey Mouse. So she'll go and get a Mickey Mouse mold. She'll make the patty and cut that vegetable patty in a Mickey Mouse shape, and she'll send it in a different box. Or the kid will get excited. Oh, I'm eating Mickey Mouse. Something like that, you have to go to great length. But I'm not saying all marketing is negative. Please don't get me wrong. I didn't intend to say that there. All right, sir. All right. So the Sanskrit verse in the Gita I've said is Anudvegakaram Vakyam Satyam Priyahitam Chayat. Satyam Priyam is very pleasant. Swadhyayabhyasanam Chaiva Vangmayam Tapa Uchyate. So the elements there which the verse conveys is, he says, a speech which is spoken without excitement, which is truthful, which is pleasant and beneficial to the recipient. And that, he says, is also, he qualifies it as a practice of sacred study. That is the most important element in the entire verse. I'll just get to that. So just moving on from what I've said, it is very pleasant. When it is not pleasant, you get into an argument. You get into argument with total strangers. There's nothing personal, but you get into a fight for no reason. You speak without excitement and you speak the truth. Hirenji, what is the opposite of truth? Don't tell me which is not true. Huh?
False, basically.
Therefore, you found another word.
Because you say, don't tell untruth.
I know. No, but rather, if I were to ask, when does something become truthful?
Which has, like we talked earlier about that science ultimately find the truth, right? So same thing in our Swatic life or right kind of life. So truth is always the ultimate one, and there's only one thing. Right? There's no alternative.
I'm not talking of the absolute level.
Okay.
Even when you speak, it's not necessary throughout the day you're talking Atman Brahman. Don't tell me that. Huh?
I know.
Yeah. So therefore, yet when you communicate and converse with people from different walks of life, when you get on with different things in life, you have to speak the truth. Even now, when I'm speaking, I got to speak the truth, isn't it? So what are the elements which make anything being truthful vis-a-vis which is not truthful or being falsehood? So it's interesting when you start examining and unfolding these simple terms which take for granted. See, what the text says is anything when does it become truthful is when it becomes factual.
Yeah.
Truth is a matter of fact vis-a-vis a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
So in the course of our actions, when we communicate to people, many a times we are giving our opinions to others, isn't it? It's what I think. Many a time when people answer, they say, Guruji, it's what I think. Why should you have to? Obviously, when I ask you, it's you speaking. You're not being a spokesperson for anybody else but yourself. But yet you can give what the truth is. It's not what you personally as an individual think, but you can always speak the truth, isn't it? Present the facts of life.
Sure.
So there is a difference between being factual and being opinionated. And when we come into people and relationship, the biggest challenge is it is all the time, what is your opinion of that person? Is it not? Far from what that personality is, what the truth is. So we are clouded, we are conditioned, our perception is filmed. So you don't really see what actually has to be seen. Go back to the previous verse. Bura jo dekhan mein chala, bura na mulya koi. Jo mukh dekha apna, mujhe se bura na koi. So am I seeing the faults in another person, or am I seeing goodness in another person? Am I seeing the divinity in person? Is all my perception. We read that a couple of classes we spent examining that wonderful verse, isn't it, G? Yeah. So yeah. Being truthful is just being factual, not opinionated. All right. So when you are being truthful, the effect of that is, he says, it doesn't hurt anybody's sentiments, doesn't instigate them. It's like if I were to say, Hyderabad is a beautiful city. Example, huh? I may be prejudiced. That's my opinion. Being my hometown, I could say it's prejudiced. and someone walks in from outside the city, and he says, "Oh, the city is terrible. It's so congested, it's so messy." It hurts me because I am. Why would it hurt me, Harish?
Hariom Guruji. It would hurt you because, like you said, you are being prejudicial. It's your opinion, and somebody doesn't agree with your opinion, so it hurts your feelings.
More so is because I have an attachment to it, isn't it? I extend it. You may say, what is to do with the opinion to city? Oh, my guru is the greatest. My God is greatest. My religion is greatest. And if and the attachment to religion and your spiritual belief systems are more profound than your attachment to a city or a country you belong to. And if somebody will come to say, my religion is better than your religion, look at your God, what your God, so-called your Messiah, your master or your guru has done. The other day, I don't want to trigger any negative sentiment. Somebody was saying what a guru, a master of a particular religion, he himself did that. Therefore, the entire religion is practicing it. They were a little critical, cynical. I don't belong to that religion, so I was very neutral receiving it. But if you were to share that view to a person who is a staunch follower of that religion, you will get into a bloodshed. Wars have been fought because of you are giving out your opinions to people. So it is very, very important to speak the truth, which is factual, not opinionated. And it is it's something that is, I don't know how many of you ever noticed it, but that's one of the fundamental principles. It's been taken to teaching to you all. When I take to this platform to teach, it is not to give my opinion of the truth, but to take Vinay as a personality out of this transaction and let the truth be spoken. It's not what I personally feel or endorse, but the truth has to be spoken because it has been said, and that has to be spoken only when you have given enough study and observation to the truth. When can I speak the truth to you? Only when I see the truth in it. And for that, what have I got to do? What have I got to do? Kamalji, yes, answer this question, sir. If I have to speak the truth which has been said and spoken and has been immortalized by these great men, and if I, as an individual, have to speak the truth, taking my personality out of the equation, what is it that I have to do?
Your answer or speech should be based on the facts, as you mentioned, and that can only be gained by reflecting or, reflecting into that.
The point which you aptly said is by doing swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva, which is known as the practice of sacred study. You got to get on to the swadhyaya jnana yajna, which is self-study. Unless and until I study the shastras, I study the truth, I reflect on these values, I digest it, I make it my own, till then I will not be able to speak from the platform of truth. If I had to take the platform of truth and speak to you what these great masters did, I have to reach that state of becoming the truth to speak the truth to you. Otherwise, if you have not taken the platform of truth, you are taking the platform of your individuality, your opinion, and you keep voicing out your opinions. It's not easy just to convey the truth to you. Believe me, if I have to give this Shastras to the rest of my life, I must embark, I must sacrifice. I have sacrificed. I will sacrifice rest of my life to imbibe the truth, so that the truth which has been spoken has to be spoken to you. Without me as an ego, the individual coming into picture, it is not a joke. It's a lifetime's effort. It's not something I just come, open my pad and say, okay, let's start speaking. It cannot happen. It will not happen. So if I have to speak the truth, which is not my opinion, you have to practice the sacred study. You have to practice what he says as self-study, which is done early morning, pratas smarami. In the early morning, you contemplate between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. If I don't do that, I will not be able to speak the truth. My opinion will come. Remember this. And that statement of being truthful, that concept is so profound. I don't know whether you all understand how profound that word is. So you got to, so in your relationship to others, you have to be very objective. You can't be prejudiced or biased to bring out the truth in another person. If somebody's arrogant, you have to say, I'm sorry, I don't think this quality of yours is acceptable. You're being very arrogant. But at the same time, you have to say it without being offensive to that person. You're correcting someone, and yet it should not be unpleasant. Look at the things, all the elements that go into making your speech in the right spirit. Yes, Harish?
Guruji, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Guruji, I want to ask a question. When I many a times have a conversation or discussion with certain people, I find that there are a few individuals that I have a constant dialogue with, just in general. They always tend to give their opinions all the time. They are highly opinionated without even being asked. They just throw out their opinions constantly. Would it be a fair assumption to say that anybody who's highly opinionated at every given discussion is egoistical? Would that be a fair statement or an unfair statement to say?
Just because somebody is giving out, I'm just repeating a question. If somebody were to constantly shower their opinions,
Yes.
even when not asked,
Yeah, they constantly want to give out their views all the time. Even in a general dialogue, they must feel they have the last say, the last word, which is not even a debate in my mind, but that person or the few people constantly want to endorse their views all the time. So I'm trying to assess this under this, based on today's teaching. I just want to assess my understanding better.
you know, in the process of asking the question, you are given the best ever definition of ego I ever heard. So it's not, is it ego? I would say it is ego. So silently, unknowingly, unconsciously, they are announcing their ego in everything that they do. They think too big, too much of themselves, that they assume themselves to be the authority and their views must be accepted and respected. And if you were to differ, you're in for a big piece of their mind as well after that, isn't it?
And a constant argument.
And there is no sum up to that. There is no end to that, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
You know, in fact, people like that are violating one principle. Do you know what that principle is?
They are not speaking the facts, but their prejudicial views. With that,
Not which is already said.
no, I don't. They're violating.
Think along, please. My job is to make you think.
Yes.
In the process, what is that principle that you are violating, which a man of sacred study will not violate. A man of sacred study will uphold. A man who violates a sacred study, or man who doesn't do sacred study, will violate that principle. I repeat the question. A person who does that sacred study will uphold this principle. One who doesn't do sacred study, which most of them don't do, they invariably violate this principle. Think along, Harish. Please think along. To this question, Setuji, you had something to say to this question? I'll come to GBKG. Sorry, sir. I think you've been wanting to say something. Just a minute, sir, please. Let me get Setuji's views on this particular question.
Hari Om Guru. They give opinion only when they are sought, asked for. People who do sacred study, they are most of the time silent, and they only when they are repeatedly asked for and sought for with humility, then they speak.
I think I wouldn't remove a word from what you said. A man with sacred study will only advise when repeatedly sought and asked with humility. And these are the words you used. Repeatedly sought and with humility means the recipient must be an adhikari. An adhikari means the recipient must be worthy of receiving your views. Otherwise, you don't want to give your views. You will reserve your views, you will reserve your judgment, because the principle of education or knowledge is never given. Knowledge should always be taken by the recipient. And what makes the recipient worthy is there is that urge to learn, urge to seek from you, the burning desire. I want to learn. I want to know what you think about life. I want to know your perspective. So you seek it, and you're very humble. So you have that great respect. Otherwise, you don't want to know what they think of life or what they think on a matter. You dismiss it before even they say, because it's being given when not asked for. So a man of knowledge holds back his knowledge or wisdom. He doesn't shower it on everybody. What happened? 1 chapter and 10 verses, Lord Krishna kept quiet in the Gita. 1 chapter. In 18 chapters, more than a chapter has gone listening to Arjuna's prattle. If you go to the first Vishada Yoga, Arjuna's despondency, the chapter is all his despondency. Krishna was quietly listening. A man of that caliber listening for 1 chapter, 10 verses is not a joke. How long can you sit and listen to someone's prattle? How long? A matter of time, you will become intolerant. You say, you shut up, you fellow, you don't make any sense. What are you prattling? You get into an argument, or just walk up and get away, isn't it? Man, that's so much love and concern he had for his dear friend. And he let him speak, get him exhausted that he had nothing more to say. And the other person's silence, you know what? The other person's is very important in psychology. In any dialogue, when other person is silent, what does it do? I'll ask Mahendraji and then I'll ask Ramji. Mahendraji.
So you have to lose or give up the sense of duality. If you conceive of the other person coming from the same origin that you do, then it doesn't take too much for you to just say the things as they are without adding your opinion, because the fact is the fact for you as much as it is for the other person.
Yes, yes. But sir, if I can rightly said, May I ask you to repeat the question, sir, what I'm asking?
No, I cannot repeat that. I don't remember that.
Right. I wanted you to comment to the question. Now let me ask Ramji. Ramji, have you captured the question, sir?
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaskar.
I think you asked if one person is silent, what does it do to that other person or to the conversation? Yeah. So I think, again, this is my opinion. So maybe it may not be a fact. So I'm expressing an opinion since you asked for it. But it encourages the other person to open up more, to really come out with all the points or difficulties or whatever he has. And there is a receptivity to the expression of the other person when you are silent. It encourages, actually, that's why, as you said in psychology, I think this is the technique which is followed by all the counselors, that they are silent and the other person is just giving out all the, just like Krishna was silent when Arjuna was reeling out all his problems.
You're absolutely right. In fact, you're very apt. What further, apart from you, it gives them an opportunity to open up. It starts to make them think, what am I saying? It makes them go inward. When you keep quiet and become a witness, the other person goes inward. So it's a very profound concept. When you are a witness to other person, the other person goes inward. An example, when you are in a place, when you know you're being watched by the cameras, what does it do to you? Aren't you conscious of what you're doing?
Yeah.
When you know you're being watched, instantly you become conscious. When you know there's a police patrol, instantly become conscious. Am I in the right lane? Am I in the right speed? Am I wearing the mask? Am I wearing the seat belt? Am I not talking on phone while driving? Because you know the police car is somewhere nearby or there is supervision. Instantly you become conscious. When that is not there, you're not conscious. So if you are able to apply this principle of just withdrawing and being a witness or silent to their actions, it makes them introverted. It makes them realize how silly, how childish they are. And that's what Arjuna realized by the end of his sermon in the first chapter. A person who was so certain became he started doubting his own stance. And then he said, I surrender to you, Krishna. You are everything. You give me this knowledge. Please relieve me of this moha delusion. A man who was certain very soon became a shishya of, because they both were friends, that, isn't it? They were childhood friends. So Arjuna never looked at Krishna as a guru. So for Arjuna to consider Krishna as a guru, it is Krishna's silence that transformed Arjuna into a shishya. But imagine Krishna started giving knowledge even before it was sought. Arjuna would have rejected it. There's so much you learn from Krishna's silence. Forget what he said. Thank you, Ji. And all these psychologists are borrowing this principle, fundamental principle, and you apply it, you get it. All right. Okay. So rightly said that a man of knowledge will give only when it is sought. He doesn't give it out. Harish, that was a point. All right, Harish? So if somebody is giving out their opinion, don't, especially when not asked, it's like casting pearls before swine. No use. You're putting the cart before the horse. It will not help. It will not take you any further. So if you apply this principle to your staff, to your children, to your spouse, to your family, to your near and dear, if you want to be heard, if you want your words to be respected, the least you say, the more you're heard. The more you say, you lose your respect. The least you say. Give them the freedom, and as less you interfere in their life, the more your views and opinions are wanted and sought. Now, this is not my opinion, this is a fact. I have to mention it because Ramji was very, I watched his, I noted keenly his words. Because you're asking, I am giving my opinion. It's not easy to change, no? What, Ramji? Right, sir. Are you okay, Harish, with it?
Yes, crystal clear. Thank you, Guruji.
Most welcome. GBKG, yes, sir. I don't know whether it's in the context, but
the context, Namaskar ji, Jai Gurudev.
Namaskar. Yes,
The
sir.
context, your product marketing, selling,
Oh, okay.
that's the truth. That is the time where I was raised my hand. That is
Sorry. Yes, please. Yes, yes, yes.
in that context, if any product you are displaying and you really need money that day, if a customer comes, if you say, if it is not good, the product is not good. If you say today this product is not good, please tomorrow you will get. If you say that is there, the reality, the truth, the powerful, the product will go, the customer will not leave you. The customer is always with you. So that is the, is not just for selling. You showcase and everything, give wrong promises and not giving the truth about the product. So that
Correct.
makes a lot of difference. That's what
Absolutely. No, absolutely. In fact, very, very valid point you said. Namaskar. Namaskar. Sriniji, the product is not good. So come tomorrow, I'll ensure it will be delivered tomorrow. I have put it on the shelf, but the product is at the coming to end of its shelf life. So I will not recommend it to you. This could be considered as a marketing tip, no, Sriniji?
I think you're provoking me. That's it.
I will not do
So
that.
I'm going to keep silent. I'm going to keep silent. When you said certain things like fast food, I spent a career of selling donuts and coffee, saying it's great, and ice cream.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Hariom. I've done
I know
for the class
Mahendra
today.
is laughing there. So,
No. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Sriniji. Yes, Hariji.
thank you.
And then Kashish Ma. Yes, Hariji to begin with. Yes, sir, please.
Hari Om Guruji. When
Hari
we
Om,
are in a situation facing an aggressively opinionated person, how to handle that situation? Is it mouth sip? Okay.
Sir, there can only be a communication when there is a giver and a taker. Isn't it?
Yeah.
When other person is not willing to receive, you will hold back your valuable inputs. However genuine you are to help, however your intention is to benefit that person, but other person is not willing to take your advice, hold back. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Ada, there is no excitement in your, that comes because you are rational and non-impulsive. The first point we said.
Okay.
And this many a time we fail when it comes to our own kith and kin. And that degree of test becomes extremely high because your attachment is very high. You can practice it at your workplace. You can practice it to in your society. You say, I've got nothing to do. You think that way, that's your life. You tell to yourself mentally and you withdraw. It's your life, man. What have I got to do with it? But you can't tell the same thing to your own family, because you're extremely attached. And in that process of your attachment, you violate this principle, and then you burn your finger.
Okay.
And that ruptures the relationship even further. So if you can draw all your strength and hold back that advice, believe me, if you do that little consistently, you will gain enormous respect from the other person, enormous respect, because you're fundamentally respecting that person's freedom and their personality. You're not sitting like a what do you call that? Piggyback. Huh? If somebody is piggybacking on you all the time, what will happen to your spine and neck, sir? It's a burden, isn't it? You can't bear the burden. Imagine mentally somebody piggybacking on you all the time. You want to get it off your head. You say, I have done with it. That's the reason in certain Western countries, the moment they have freedom, the first thing is they say, I want to live my life. I'm independent. It's coming even here. It's big. Certain places, if the culture is more strong, they still hold on. Otherwise, but still, there's a lot of friction, a lot of resentment, a lot of non-acceptance. But the moment you're given the freedom, they want to walk out because they can't bear that piggybacking mentally. Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Kashish.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om, Kashish.
I had a phrasing that I was wondering would be kind of an accurate way to also describe this. Could you say that like holding back your opinion before you share it, or being more passive and being more of a listener, you could say it's like being active rather than reactive. So when you're presented with emotion or opinion, instead of like reacting to that, and then everyone's like opinions and emotions kind of bounce around like a pinball machine. If you're active and you're steadfast in your what the truth that you see in this instance, then it encourages everyone to also be active, and then that any sort of tension or emotional intensities will diffuse.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have been able to put it in such clarity, in such sweet way as you put it, Kashish. Very beautifully said. In fact, I must share my joy. Rest of you, Kashish has been coming for the past few classes, and I remember seeing Kashish more than how long ago, Kashish? Harish?
I think more than about 10 or 12 years ago.
More than 12 years ago, I remember seeing this girl in Hong Kong, visiting their home, and it's lovely connecting, seeing her after so long, and related to Harish. How is she related to Harish?
She's my niece, my sister's daughter.
And where are you, Kashish, now? I'm sorry to advertise you, Kashish.
Oh, I hope
you don't
okay.
mind.
It's okay. I'm in Sydney, in Australia at the moment.
Yeah. So it was lovely knowing you, how you're blossoming, and nice connecting with you. And that's why I say it's so beautiful the way you said it. So if you are less reactive and you're very what's the words you used?
Just active in like, taking a stance or taking a direction rather than reacting.
You don't. So reacting, I would suppose it means you're impulsive. Active is you respond to a situation, having gauged, having analyzed the pros and cons, and so it makes you more balanced, and it diffuses any situation, even if. So whether the point is, you should consider, and the way you are saying what you said is, whether you are flaring up a situation or diffusing a situation. Things usually get flared up in a situation when you are impulsive and you get excited. Other person could be impulsive and excited, but if you are not reactive to that impulsive input, if you are rational, it's not easy. When somebody's instigating you, you got to be calm and cool. And if you are able to practice that to a large extent, it diffuses the situation, and your actions will transform their further actions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well said. Absolutely. Yeah, you can say that. That in fact, that is what we have been saying, but in a different way. All right, Kashish.
Okay. Thank you,
All right.
Guruji.
Welcome. Yes, Sidhuji.
Suji, I just wanted to share when I go for marketing, when I brag about my product and push it, the customer doesn't even listen. I just fail. On the other hand, and many occasions when I go and just listen to him and understand his issues and the type of product he wants, if I can offer a solution for him, and I talk less and he talks more. In the process, one advantage is I also come to know what is his budget, who are all quoted for this product without my asking, he shares. And I offer genuinely a good solution. I get the order, as well as he says you are a very good conversationalist, where I this happened to me times.
No, I've heard this from you before, but it's so apt. Sriniji wants to say something here. Sir, you are being given a chance to market, sir. Come on, sir. Don't practice being a witness here. What? I'm asking you with humility also. Even then, you're taking it to a new level, huh? All right. So, and perfect. So the last element which we referred to, where he says it is beneficial. So when you speak, is it in the interest of the other person, the best interest? And when you speak something which is without excitement, you speak very pleasant, you speak the truth, and also further to it, you speak something which is beneficial. All of this can only happen when you are established in this knowledge and wisdom. And when do you get established in this knowledge and wisdom? Only when you do that sacred study. So that auspicious study of the scriptures brings you the maturity in you to be able to bring comfort and solace to the other person. You're also calm. Another person, others also are peaceful and comfortable. It is not easy, but you need to be mindful of these elements in order to achieve that in every conversation, in every action that you perform. Not easy. It's certainly not easy. And there are moments when you have violated it, you exactly know, deep within you know, what you have done is not the right thing. Deep within you know, right? It sounds so simple, but yet it's so profound and so applicable and practical in our every walk of life, every day, every experience. Reddy Garu. Yes, sir.
Pranam, Guruji.
Yes,
I'm just
carry on.
thinking, Guruji, Sant Kabir took the most of the scriptures from the Bhagavad Gita, because I see the contents are more or less resembling there. If you really look at that, the statement where you mentioned about 7th chapter, 15th verse, it's precisely mentioning about what?
It is 17th chapter, 15th verse.
Yes, sir. 17th chapter, 15th verse.
17th,
Yes.
right.
So here, I also would like to put across my, again, very cautious statement, as Ramji has said, that opinion that put yourself into the other shoes when the conversation is taking place. Trying to gauge about the, rather than giving your jnana and trying to put yourself, your views, try to understand others' pain, others, either it could be marketing or it could be any general conversation. From there, which context they are coming and what is their expectations. It may be sometimes, most of the times of conversation, and the pleasing the ego and satisfying the ego makes a lot of difference, not at the cost of satisfying your own values, but I mean to say that. And the success rate is, in my experience, it was huge, where you understand and try to relieve their concerns and address the issues. I think you, as Chitramanji said, that you get away what you want. In the end, is you have to get something out of the deal, when particularly the professional level. You get away without speaking much. That's true. That's
Yeah. Very candid observations. Thank you, Ji. Yeah. Fourth verse, please. Gayatrima, you want to show that, please? Yeah, you could. This is the reference of the verse. Just take a snapshot of it, then you can fall back on. Outstanding. Right. Thank you, ma'am.